Well, we think we can go without a teacher, whatever you like to call them, right? Teacher, guru. People kind of are triggered by this term sometimes, guru. I think the reason for that is because of all the gurus who have behaved in such terrible ways in the past and have kind of taken advantage of people. What you have to understand is like in India, a guru is a bit like not really a pop star. They're kind of a celebrity, you would say. Like they're a celebrity that you get. You know, they're very similar to a life coach, but it's kind of part of the tradition. And there's sort of guru, like as we call a lama, and the use of this term lama in the Tibetan means no higher, or highest, you could say the highest mother. It's like highest source. And then there's guru in terms of this kind of guru worship tradition. And for the most part in India, then the student-guru relationship is similar to the relationship between a rock star and their fans. You know, of course these people can inspire us, right? We could be really inspired by Jimi Hendrix and think he's teaching some wonderful spiritual path. But it's kind of, yeah, we're kind of groupies to gurus often. But that's not really the real meaning of an authentic master. The authentic master is the person who has the ability to transform your mind, you know, for you to make a spiritual transformation. And that's largely to do with your past karmic connection. And really the best masters aren't like superstars. We think a good guru is like a superstar, you know, a rock star or famous actor or something like that. But the best authentic masters are more like a wounded deer in the forest. You know, they lie low, they hide away. And if you listen to all the old stories, then that's how it is. So in general, when you see a guru who's really flashy and really wealthy, then that's almost 100% certain they're not authentic, unfortunately. And I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing people, for example, like Sadhguru and things like that. I really don't know anything about Sadhguru. And he seems like, he's really funny. And also he's kind of switched on about the sort of kind of pitfalls and mistakes that people get into. He's no dummy. And he's kind of very aware of this guru-student relationship. And I guess he's probably trying his best. Most of these teachers online are trying their best. You know, Rupert Spira, Eckhart Tolle, they really, they're quite sincere. And then people like Sadhguru, etc., then they fall into a different category because there's this whole tradition. For example, we've got Osho, right? Well, he's very much connected with Nepal. And in Nepal, this guru worship thing is very, very strong. And people just give away their entire life and everything they own. Actually, the Chinese do this as well. But often for people, they can do that for a long time. And then down the line, some point, they give rise to regret, you know. They think like, well, I gave away all my money. I've got nothing now. And I haven't achieved anything. But this path of guru worship isn't one that's going to lead to realizing the true nature of mind or any kind of great spiritual attainment. In this format, I mean. This kind of rock star format, that's what I mean. Because of course then, you know, Milarepa had this kind of guru-student, guru worship relationship with Marpa. But that was very personal and one-to-one, you know. And at the time, it wasn't like Milarepa was famous. Marpa was a little bit famous. He didn't have loads of students. He had like 4 principal students or something. It's only later that we see that these people became so important to the transmission of the lineage. So when you've got these kind of career gurus, these kind of life coaches, they're really the celebrities, then what you're aiming for there is by giving up all your attachment and giving everything away to the guru, then you're creating lots of positive karma, if you're well-intentioned, right? If you're doing it, if it's not transactional. Then by that you create lots and lots of positive karma. And if you're very pure about it, then you also become very accepting, open, and then you experience well-being in this life. And what is taught, then you're reborn in divine realms in future lives. But it's not for somebody who wants to come to understand the true nature of mind or to attain spiritual accomplishment for themselves, this kind of practice. If you find your, what they call your guru of many lifetimes, and you do whatever they say and work with great diligence, then yes, you will achieve great things in the Dharma. For example, Milarepa achieved the level of Dorje Chang. He became a Buddha in this lifetime, and it was based on this interaction. But it wasn't this sort of celebrity interaction. So, I mean, I made a video about this, how to find an authentic master, and there's kind of signs. And you have to look at the people around a teacher. For example, I'd heard something online, somebody was teaching. It was a kind of philosophical position that I didn't understand. It was this notion that you could take the infinite and you could divide it, right, by the finite, and then you would end up with a finite. And I'd wondered, well, if you take infinity and you divide it by a finite number, do you still have infinity, or do you have a finite number? And if you have a finite number, then it wasn't infinity in the first place, right? So it was just, I was just wondering what they would say. But two of the students got extremely angry, and were actually being derogatory. They called my monk's robes a clown suit or something like that. For example, if we went into town and we saw, a Sikh guy getting on the bus to go to work, and we were to say, "What are you wearing that clown hat for?" We'd probably get arrested, right? It's like really, really out of order, that kind of behavior, sort of to discriminate against somebody for their religious beliefs or for their outward signs of religion. I mean, it happens, right? People throw stuff at Muslims wearing their kind of the gear they have. I don't have that reaction. When I see somebody outwardly expressing their faith or belief in their religion, it's to me, it's a positive thing. But anyway, so you look at students, and if these students are very small-minded and very easy to anger, then that's a sign that there's something going wrong there. Because in general, then students reflect the teachings of their teacher. You can look, especially if you look at the people who are close to a teacher, then you will see what that teacher is like. And if they're quite humble, kind and caring people, and then that's one good sign. And then also you have to see if what they teach has substance to it. And this is also, I see this online all the time. There'll be a kind of question and answer with a teacher, somebody famous, and there's quite a few of them online on YouTube, right? And somebody will say, well, I don't understand this point. What's that all about? Now, if the teacher says, no, you're wrong, it's like this, that's kind of a sign that they don't really have confidence in their own position, because they can't really explain why they believe what they believe. All they can do is sort of point out a fault and the person asking the question, especially if that's a good question. And I've often seen this. This one student asked a question and said, well, you teach that consciousness is without any qualities. It's completely void of anything, but that everything comes from consciousness. And I don't understand how appearances and things can arise from something that doesn't have qualities, because obviously this quality to allow something to arise must be a quality, right? It's not absent of a quality. Now, this is not a stupid question. That's a very profound question. And it's similar if you ask, well, where did the Big Bang come from? Is it necessary to have energy or matter pre-existent before the Big Bang? And, a scientist or physicist may say the universe came from the Big Bang, but if you press them on this question, then they will have to admit that, well, actually the laws of the universe have to be already there for this to work. And not only that, then there's a certain amount of matter or energy required. Bare minimum, there's a certain amount that you need. And so if you ask difficult questions of your teachers, and then the conversation becomes more profound, that's generally a good sign. But if, for example, in this case, then the teacher didn't know how to answer and got quite obviously frustrated, in the end, the only thing the teacher could say was, well, no, you're wrong. It's not like that, it's like this, without actually answering the question. And so it's generally like that. And often we think, an authentic teacher is somebody who has strange behavior, right? They kind of act like the Siddha, as I told before. Now, Siddha is like an accomplished master. So they used to do weird things, right? Dancing in the marketplace naked, etc. Now, just because somebody has strange behavior doesn't mean they're a charlatan. But there should be something behind that. And many of these very popular celebrity teachers, they kind of act it up a bit because Westerners like it. So they'll wear funny clothing or, big sunglasses covered in diamonds and that sort of thing. And it's because we like this sort of stuff. To us, it's kind of a game, really. So there needs to be some substance behind that, you know. The Dalai Lama jokes around a lot, and it gets him into trouble sometimes, but he jokes around a lot. But behind his joking, there is definitely substance. You can ask him about anything, any position that he has, and he will be able to explain it in such detail that it will make your head spin, because he's incredibly learned. He's no fool. He's thought about everything he has to say. So it's important that there is some substance to a teacher. And you have to look at what teachers focus on as well. Now, I don't know, I've never met Osho. This guy I'm going to interview on Thursday actually has experience with Osho. I'm going to ask him some questions. I don't know anything about Osho. I mean, on the outside, it looks like a kind of spiritual Disneyland to me. But I mean, he's passed away now, so maybe that's just his kind of committee it's making it like that. But he seemed to be pretty keen on wealth, right? He had like a diamond Rolex, like the most expensive watch in the world, you know, loads of limousines, and he was covered head to toe in expensive stuff. He seemed to really love all that stuff. That's part of this kind of guru worship tradition in Nepal. It's very much like that. But by looking at what a teacher focuses on, then you can generally tell what they're like. So Tetra Rinpoche, for example, would spend all his money. When I say all his money, it's like $5. He didn't have anything really. But anything he got, he would use to save life, to release animals who were going to be slaughtered. And so you can see this is a sign. This Lama has compassion and love, right? And then there's people like Sanji Nyimba Rinpoche. He spends all his time educating people, you know, putting money into colleges, etc., educating his students in the Buddha Dharma, and he's really learned it himself. And so this is a sign of what he's like. And so for me, then, if the Lama's main consideration is flashy cars and stuff like that, then I have no kind of choice but to accept that they're a materialist. But that's not certain. You know, there are masters of the past who acted in strange ways, but there's a reason for that. Like somebody today made a comment about this point about getting angry and how Marpa had become angry. But if you look at the life story of Marpa, it's very clear there that he was putting on an act. I mean, in that story, he's being very terrible to Milarepa, but at some point, his heart is breaking so much for all the trouble that Milarepa is going through that he bursts out in tears or something. And it's because, you know, in the end, he kind of thinks, well, it's not working. He's just suffering so much. I've got to find some way to alleviate his pain. So he was kind of going through the motions in order to purify Milarepa's negative karma. So he's putting on this act of being angry. He's being really tough on him. But you have to understand that Milarepa in that lifetime had killed over 30 people, right? Murdered them with black magic. And so he needed to get enlightened in this lifetime, because if he didn't, then he was going like straight to hell for eons. And so he was desperate. Milarepa was desperate, and Marpa saw this. And Marpa had actually said to his consort, his wife, he said, you know, if you hadn't interfered, then he could have achieved enlightenment without any further hardship. But because she interfered, because she felt compassion for Milarepa, and Marpa kind of toned down his teaching a little bit, then Milarepa had to go through decades and decades in solitude with no food and no clothing. But Marpa had said that he wouldn't have had to do that if he just was allowed to purify his karma through these means. So there are reasons why a Lama could be kind of really tough on their students, but in general I would say don't accept that, you know, unless you find a teacher you have absolute 100% confidence in, because there's loads of people who just use this as an excuse to take advantage of their students, and it happens loads, right, in these spiritual communities. It's very, very sad. And that's why it's really important not to give rise to pride, and not to start taking money off people and stuff like that. You just start thinking you're really special, and that you could never do any wrong. And then in the end, you know, if you give rise to desire and just use people, then it's only going to harm them. And it's only going to harm you as well.